9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's Amanda with DevExpress, and I am back here with our Tuesday live session with Don. Don, what's going on over there?
Hey, yeah, hey. Well, we just had this Santa Claus, this Dutch Santa Claus version
Okay,
tonight. So
but
just
not
finished
this,
that
right?
off.
This is not this guy. Or is it this guy?
No, but no, this is the Christmas dude. But no, the Santa Claus guy that we have here in Holland. I think there are a couple of other countries as well. No, this guy existed for real. It used to be a saint. He's coming from
Oh,
Spain with a boat,
a
and
boat.
he's got a whole bunch of guys with him. So no elves or whatever, but just real
Just
people. But
guys.
yeah, that's a bit of
Regular
the thing right
sized
now
guys.
because they used to be like black guys, but that's a bit under debate right now.
Hmm.
So there are now all kinds of colors of guys, and they climb
Okay.
down through the chimney, and they
Diversity. Wonderful.
yeah, of course. And they climb down through the chimney and they put some presents in your shoe. So not like the stocking. So there are quite a
I
bit of
mean,
resemblance.
shoe, stocking.
It exactly. And
Okay, so I really want you to show, can you show the chocolate?
oh yeah. That's one of the things that is quite common with this celebration. So I have a you most people will get like the first letter of their name.
Okay.
In my case, they ran out of the D's, so I got a P for
You got a
Papa
P.
instead.
They ran out of the letter
Yeah.
D. Oh my God.
Yeah, they ran out sometimes. So this is
That is
only
a
in this time of the
giant.
year. It is a solid. So it is real. Like I'll break it. I mean,
Oh,
you'll see it. It is solid chocolate. So
there's no crunchies
yeah,
in there. It's just solid
yeah.
100%.
This well, you've got like a whole bunch of flavors. This one is with hazelnut chunks
Oh,
in it, but you've got like pure and milk
delicious.
and sea salt, caramel, I don't know,
Oh,
whatever. Normally, I mean, back in the days, it was just milk or pure or the hazelnut thing.
okay.
And I mean, it happens to be in the box. I would love to show it to you, but it will be keyed out because the box is green. You probably won't see it.
It's there. I see it. I see it.
Oh, you see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's a different kind of green. Yeah, so that is something that most people will get when they celebrate this festivity. Um, And now tomorrow today it's the guy's birthday officially, December 5th. And tomorrow apparently
Santa
he's
Claus.
yeah, it's called Sinterklaas in Dutch, which means
Oh,
Santa Claus.
okay.
Literally, it's literally the same. He's got a bit of a different wardrobe and stuff, and yeah,
Okay.
apparently tomorrow he's getting. It was a real saint. Yeah, a
A
real
real saint.
person who
So like
helped out
Saint
some.
Claus.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it.
And apparently
I love
tomorrow
that.
he's getting back on his boat back to Spain where he spends the rest of the year. And then we'll welcome Santa Claus as well. I mean the
Oh,
Christmas guy.
the
Yeah.
Christmas guy. And the sleigh and all
So
the other things. And got it.
the reindeers and all the bells and whistles. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's yeah, that's the deal here.
I know. You showed me that chocolate pea before we started, and I was like, we've got to talk about this. So thanks for sharing with
Yeah.
with all of us. So now to jump into what we're actually here for.
Yeah, of
What are
course.
you
Of
what are you
course.
working on today, Don?
Well, I have obviously been playing a bit around with all the new features of .NET 8 and Blazor 8.
Love
So
that.
we have been doing a couple of things in the last episode. So I think that we can actually now start with some stuff that was already on the plan, and that is yeah, getting back to the application. But in this case, we will have client side with server side and all mixed together because of Blazor 8. Um, and I thought it was a good idea or an interesting idea to show what we can do with the invoices in the database, because we have been, let me get the application up. Um, so we have obviously been doing a couple of things which were concerned with single entity information, like a customer or what else did we have? An album, that kind of stuff. But if we would take a look at the invoices, that would be like an invoice with a collection of invoice items. Yeah, so that is a bit more complex, and how can we do that? That's the whole plan. So yeah, so this is more like a simple entity which we can edit and manage basically. But the invoice table has a master detail relationship with invoice items. So can we do that as well with the approach that I've been setting up? That's what I wanted to show today. So yeah, for that I have prepared a couple of things. Otherwise, we'll do a whole bunch of coding, which takes up some time, and it's not really spectacular because we've talked about that already. So I'm going to point it out what I've done. The first thing is I have implemented this is invoice menu item. Oh, the very first thing, last episode we had the customers and the customers ran it on the client. I have removed, yeah. So I took that rendered on the server, I took that away, and there is now just this one customer thing, which is the client side version, as you can see. So this is all Blazor WebAssembly, what we see here. So what I also did is I created a similar functionality, but then concerning invoices. But as you can see, this is just yeah, the main invoice record. It doesn't have any information about the invoice details basically. So if I would edit it, we'll just have this simple thing with the invoice information, but it doesn't have a grid what we would like. So we would have like we would like to have a grid with the invoice items underneath, and that's what we're going to do. So for this behavior, what did I do? Let me quickly show that. It's not too much code, but yeah, I thought I'll put it already in. So let me see. I have that. What I have done, I have first created, according to our little architecture, I have set up an invoice model, so our DTO model. Oh, let me zoom that in. I have created a validator, as you can see, and I have also created the invoice line model and an invoice line model validator. But the validation is not really a thing that I'd like to discuss right now. So everything is being validated, but we need it in our architecture, so I just put it in. So that's what I prepared. What I also prepared is the invoice store, which will get the data out of the database. And also for that, if I scroll up a bit, what we'll see is that invoice store, which is derived from our EF data store. I've implemented all the specific abstract methods. And I've added the server-side validator as well, right here. And the same I've done for the invoice line store. But in a minute, you'll see that there's an interesting thing going on with the invoice lines. That's the items of the invoice. So I'll come back to that a bit later. And then obviously I registered the services, as you can see here as well. Let me show you that. So here is the invoice store and the invoice line store together with the validator. So this is why we are already up and running. So this is what I prepped, and for the rest, we're going to do something live here. Yeah, not too complicated. I hear it as well, actually, now that you're mentioning it, but I have no idea what that is. Um, yeah, Skype is not really an issue. I don't have any. Yeah, it's already on there, I think. Yeah. But let me active. Yeah, I have put myself on do not disturb. So let's see if that makes a difference. I don't have anything. Anyway, all right. So we're back. Yeah, so pretty much I've prepped a bunch of simple things that we've already been talking about in some previous streams. So this is all, yeah, working quite nice with our little architecture with DTL and validation, etc., etc. And yeah, then there is, because I wanted to use WebAssembly, so front end rendering basically. What I've also prepared is I've set up an invoice API store. This is typically that connects with our backend. And our backend, I've put that up as well. Maybe you remember that I refactored some stuff by adding these controllers. And if I would go, yeah, so if I would go to my application here and I'll go to Swagger, which is absolutely great for this kind of stuff, we will be talking against this backend. So here I have the invoices API. I can just fetch them. And I have also done the same for the invoice lines here. And these are quite simple, but it's more about the idea. And these are quite a bunch. So this is already prepped. So I've got a web API which can get the invoices, the invoice items, set up the data sources, etc. And yeah, everything is registered correctly to the application. Then I have already created this invoice screen that we were just looking at, which is using our browse and edit control that we've built before, and that's all properly configured. And yeah, here is something that we would like to modify a bit, and that's what we're going to do. So yeah, what are we going to do? Well, the first thing is that this I can do a couple of things here. And let me show that in Swagger. If I go to my program CS file with, no, I need to go to my, where was it again? I need to go to my data. I have this mapping profile which will map our entity framework classes into DTL models and vice versa. And what you see is that I have put in a map already for the invoice to invoice model and back. And what I've also put in is I want to have a that invoice model looks like this. So it's got a customer name, and what you'll see is that the customer name is being concatenated here. Oh, can't see it right now. And so that's being constructed here in the form member construction. And that gives us the opportunity to display the customer name by you, and this is all being transformed in proper SQL, so this is quite efficient. But one of the other things that we could do is, if I would go, because that's what I want, if I switch over back to the application, in this particular scenario, if I go to the invoices, I only want to fetch these records. I don't want to fetch the invoice items together, because that's quite time consuming, and that's going to take a bit of time if it needs to get like all the items for one of those records. But what I do want to do is, at the moment that I edit this one, it should fetch the items and display it here. But only when I open this, I'm gonna do an additional request to fetch the items that belong with this invoice entity. So the one of the ways, I mean, there are different ways, but I think that this is quite a straightforward one, is if I go to my model, my invoice model, and let me zoom it in. I'm going to add a collection of invoice models here, invoice line models, and I'll call it invoice lines. And I'm going to default it to a new list, so there's always something there. What will happen now is, and that's, I can show that in Swagger, I guess. With this construction, I only edit this property, but AutoMapper will do something that we don't want. Yeah. Yeah, we could do that as well. Yeah, we need. I'll see if we can wrap that up in this same stream, because we need to do some work that's necessary for that anyway. So yeah, that might be. Let me put it on my list. Yeah. All right. So let's first get back to the invoices, and I'm gonna check this in Swagger because this is an excellent way of checking this kind of stuff. If I go to the invoices, remember that I've added a collection with invoice items. If I would now try this one out, it will take a bit of time. Oh, not in this particular scenario. No, I didn't do it. And why didn't I do it? It should fetch those items as well by default. Maybe I have already put it out. That was here. No, I didn't put it out, but what we should do for sure is we should use a construct to prevent AutoMapper for automatically loading this. So what I'll do is I will put in this construction here. So that means that AutoMapper will not automatically load this stuff in, because that's going to take time, and you will absolutely you'll see that at runtime. And I'll do it also when reversing, because we're going to deal with that in another way. So now we have a collection. We have room for invoice items in this invoice model. Now, let me get back to the invoice razor file, Because what we want to do now is I'm gonna in the edit form, and I'll see if we can put it in the master detail as well. I think we can. What I now want to do is I want to have a layout item which will hold a grid, and that grid should hold our um, detail item. So let me get this one out. I'll make this a call span 12, and I'll set a begin row to true, and a caption can go. So yeah, now there are a couple of things that we need to address, and the first thing is that as soon as we start editing, it should fetch those items, and it should only fetch the invoice items of the selected invoice. So the model that we're dealing with. So for this, we need to add a couple of things to our browse and edit control, because at this stage it is quite effective, but it is limited in state changes. Because I know that the grid has some events on it, so I want to pretty much use those events as well. So for that, I will open up my browse and edit control, which was somewhere here. And let's put in a couple of things. So we have, I want to do something on the edit model saving, and I want to do something on the customize edit model as well. So we have to expose those events of this control, and we can do that by adding a couple of things. The first thing is I'm going to add a parameter. Oh, which is a public action T model, and this one is going to be the init new action. Oh, we had that already, so we can do the init edit action. All right, so we can fire this, and I will also put in some other actions as well. This is going to be a function, so this is able to give something back here, and what the return value of this function is this on saving. And I can do the same on saved. I want to be able to do something before the actual save action, and I want to do something once it's actually done. So I can just copy that over. Oh. And I want these methods to run asynchronously, so that's why the result of these functions are a task, which is something C-sharpish, basically. So now we need to fire those methods, and we can do that. For instance, we do that here already. So if the grid switches over to edit model, in this case, if it is a new action, we'll fire that new item action. But now what we also want to do is if it is not new, is new and init edit action, there is one thing since the introduction of Blazor 8 and my update on Visual Studio. I'm curious if there are other people facing the same issues, but my code completion and stuff doesn't seem to work that well anymore in the Razor files. I'm not sure what this has to. Yeah, it exactly. Yeah, it doesn't work that nice anymore. It seems that something, yeah, has fallen apart or something, or maybe I have to wait for a new update. I mean, I don't use that much plugins and things. The only thing I do install is obviously CodeRush, but as Mark assured me, that will definitely not have any impact on Visual Studio. So exactly. So in the meantime, I have now done the same as what we've already had in the code above. So what's happening here, that if we have that action assigned, we will invoke that asynchronously. So that's how you can do that. And now we can do something whenever that state is changing. One of the other things that I'd like to do is that in the model saving, I would like to do that as well. So in case the result is successful, so if it's not successful, we will return the error. Otherwise, we still need to check if the unsaved is assigned. So saved unequals null. We can now say await saved. So this would also not impact our existing work because we are just adding a number of things, some extra functionality, and when we are not using it, it should also not cause any issues here. And the other thing that I wanted to do is, let me see, this was the edit model, saving. Oh, this is the wrong one, I think. No, this is okay. Yeah, I think we're fine. I think I don't need this one actually. Okay. So now I've added a couple of things to my. Oh, the hot reload is giving me this. What is it? Okay, stop. I've added some functionality to our browsing grid control, and with this in place, I can now do a couple of things in my invoices. And now this one, maybe I should build it first to make sure that it works. Yeah, you see, I forgot something somewhere. To be precisely, I forgot this. And should be okay. No, let me see. Oh. And here. Yeah, this should work. Now, if I go back to my invoices, I now have the possibility to use the on saved, you see, and I also have the on edit item action, you see. So this is what we've just been adding. I'll get to that a bit later. Amanda, are you still there? Oh, Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear you. But it was extremely silent, so I'm not sure if you have mixed something away or something. I don't know. Oh, that's it. Yeah, I mean, it was not really disturbing, but I did notice that something turned off. But anyway, yeah, okay, good, good, good. All right, so now there are a couple of things, obviously, that we need to address. And the first thing that I would like to do is, let me think. Yeah, so the edit action. So whenever this grid is going to edit any of the existing items, so that was on init edit item action. I'm gonna do the edit item, the edit action. All right. So how does that thing look? Well, it's typically not really exciting. Protected async void edit action. Well, I just built it in, so I know that this one is going to have an invoice model passed in, which is the invoice being edited. And now what we'll do is we now need to get the data, the invoice items only at this particular stage. I only want to get that additional info once I start editing. So this, yeah, so I'm gonna try and fetch, but you might see a bit of problems here because we are not aware of any item store in this case. So that's the first thing I need to do. I need to start injecting my I how do we call it, data store. And then the key was an integer, and we are dealing with the invoice line model here. So this is the one that I need, and that was already configured. So now I need to get the items by invoice ID, and then I'll pass in the item.invoice ID. These are the items, and now I can say in item dot invoice lines. I could do this in one line as well, but just to make it a bit clear. So this is what I want, but as you can see, the wobbly line says it's no good. So we need to implement here something here, which is the get invoice by invoice ID. We need to do this on two ways because we need to have the invoice API store call the web API endpoint, but we also need the endpoint and all the server side portion to get it. So we need to make a change to that data source. So first I'll start with the very basics, which is the invoice store itself, which will get the data from the database. And here I need to add a method. And that method is going to be that get invoice by ID. So let's, and what I also need to do is we need to probably put in an extra interface. It needs to implement an extra interface, otherwise we can't identify this at runtime. So this is going to be slightly technical, but hey, this is... So the easiest way to accomplish this is if I go to the interface. You should be really careful now where you put stuff, because some of this will run on the server while other stuff will run on the browser. So Entity Framework will not run on the client. So that's, you need to be very careful on where you put stuff. So in this case, I can put this here. And let's see, I'm going to create a new interface, public interface. I invoice line store, but I'll derive this from the, what was it again? The iData store. The iData store. And in this case, because I'm dealing with the invoice line store, I can immediately say this is going to be the integer, and this is the invoice line model. I don't need this one to be generic anymore. And what I'll add here is that precise method that we need. So how does that method look? This is going to be a task. It's an asynchronous method, so that is always returning a task. And in this case, I can do it like this, and I'll change this one to get by invoice ID. I will probably also, at a later stage, I will need to store those invoice items as well. So let's put that in as well. In this case, I'll do int invoice ID, and I'll pass in parameters like this. If I now go to my invoice store, I will implement that interface right here. Invoice line store, and it will start complaining that this is not implemented, which is what we expect. Oh, that red wobbly line means complaining. Yeah. Where was that? Sometimes I look at this menu and I can't find it. And this is also, nah. I just wanted to implement this interface. Implement interface. Here it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we added these methods, and now we need to the interface. We are implementing this interface on the class, so now we need to implement it. And here, this is the server-side version of it. So now we can access this. Let me see. Quite simple. So what we really need is, I need to put this on async as well. Await, and we call the query method, which is a method which is in the base class of this, where I dot invoice ID is invoice ID. And I'm going to return that as a list asynchronously. and here I'm going to return it. So now we are able on the server to get those items that belong to one of those invoices. The store one, I'll deal with that a bit later. But now, yeah, we need to somehow, because we are dealing on the client with this, we need to implement this in our web API as well. And yeah, we need to put that in our API client as well. So let's see how we can accomplish that by going first to register something in our application. Not here, but we're going to go to the program file, and I put in a couple of those endpoints here with the map store controller, but now we need to add an extra method. So the most easy way of doing so is by just going to this map store controller and copy out some stuff, because we need to add another get. In this case, it's going to be this one. And I can just add that, what we already done. In this case, I will need to do this by hand in voice lines. And now we're going to add the by route, by invoice. And in this case, the key. I will put in 2 of those curly braces, like I forgot last time, which caused a bit of issues. And here we're going to change a couple of things as well. So here we need to pass in the invoice ID, and we're going for the, in this case, the I invoice line store instead of that generic one. And this reminds me that we have to add something in the registration as well, but that comes a bit later. So now we have this store, we have that invoice ID, and what we can now do is we can use the same construct. Well, what's typically done here, so we have this store, and we can say results is store dot get by invoice ID, as we want it. It's going to be in a wait. And we could actually use this. I like that, but we could use this construct. This is even shorter. This is new C# feature. Take a look at it whenever you have time, how this works. But we can use this as well, and then we can get rid of the curly braces and all that stuff, and we can reduce the amount of code, which is quite cool. And in this case, we can modify this by going here. And then if this is a list of invoice line model, results, we're going to return the results, and otherwise not do anything. So here we have the same construction, which is really worth looking at. There is still this thing, and the route should be changed as well. Okay, I'll call this like this, and now we can remove this one and that one. So we can already check. No, I forgot something. Uh, yeah, I just mentioned like I need to change something a bit later, which is what we're going to do. Oh, and what does it say? Where is this? Oh, yeah. This is one thing. This was not what I was waiting for actually, but it doesn't matter because we need to change that anyway. We are now dealing with this invoice line interface. And if we scroll down, we are now able to get this by invoice ID. Oh, I made it async. But now this will work. But before this works completely, we need to pull another trick. And that is in the registration of our store. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of tricks, and I love that. Oh, yeah. Do you know David Copperfield? Know Hans Klok. Do you know Hans Klok? He's like a book of tricks. Yeah. No. Well. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's an illusionist. Yeah. He was in Vegas for like a year or so. He happens. No, the Hans Klok guy. He's Dutch, and I mean, I've seen him for life, and that is tricks in capitals. I mean, I was sitting a couple of meters away from him, and I still couldn't get what he was doing. He was pulling like a whole deck of cards out of his mouth, and then he pulled more out of it, and it was like, dude, serious? Yeah. Ah, uh, he had short sleeves, just like a t-shirt. Uh, I don't know. I mean, that was abracadabra for me. For some people, this might seem like abracadabra, but I'll assure you that I will explain it's not that much abracadabra. In this service registration, we are registering this invoice line model, which will be this store here. It will be identified whenever we want an iData store with these parameters injected. But now I want to deal with the same store, but with a different interface. But it needs to be the same store. So this sounds a bit technical, but we can do that. But we need to use another because the dependency injection only works with one type for identification. But what we can fortunately do is I can add another one, and I will use a slightly different method here. Let me see. I want the X in this case is our service provider. I should call it differently instead of X. But I can now use the service provider to get the required service. In this case, it's going to be the iData store int and then invoice model. So, and I'm going to cast that. Let me see. I need to put some brackets here as being an invoice line data store. So what this line does, let me make sure that it will return something. What this line actually does is, and that's what we want, if I want something of the type invoice line store injected, I know it's going to be the same as this one. So I'm calling the service provider to get actually one of those, which is the same. And then I think we can have this. Let me see if everything builds, and then we can also test this for starters in Swagger. The build has succeeded, so let's head over to Swagger and refresh this baby. Oh, yeah, just restart it. Sometimes it does that. Oh, interesting. Something else happened. I'm trying to boot up the application, but apparently, let me see, what is this? Yeah, this is the application. Let me see. Something seems to maybe have crashed. Yeah, in most cases that means that the local host has crashed. And it does this again. Cannot find the runtime config, yada yada yada. Yeah. Hey, that's weird. Let me have a quick check if I registered stuff in the wrong place. No. Nah, this was not part. I bet it happened to David Copperfield as well as Hans Klok as well. But does it have something to do? Oh, it has probably something to do with the API. No, I wasn't even there. Do I really have to restart my Visual Studio? Let me have a quick restart on Visual Studio. Sometimes it works. Nah, not right now. that then you might be on your own. Yeah, then you have to improvise. Yeah. Are you a good piano player? You should be able to do something. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's hope that won't be necessary. Hey, this is so weird. Oh yeah, right now there is an update available. Let's not install that one. Well, always what might work as well is clean the solution. Yeah, then it get rid of a whole bunch of files that are built during. If you want to run the application, it's being compiled and it's being made ready. And for instance, if I would now rebuild, let me first rebuild it, and then I'll show you what it gets rid of. So now it's compiling a whole bunch of stuff, and it's checking if you made any errors syntax wise. And once that is all done, I can, for instance, go to this one. And if I open this one up in my file explorer, so these are my files, which you can also see in the solution. But here is a bin folder, for instance, that will be used to to put all the compiled results in, basically. And when you do a clean, it will get rid of all these files, so it will be built all over again. So that's the clean. I'm still thinking, what did I forget? Get the required service. Oh, This is going to be the invoice line model. Maybe this is it. Invoice line store. Huh. Oh. Now it has changed my startup project here. Okay, well, it looks that we fixed it. And if I would now, we were going to check those invoice items. So if I go to my invoice lines, we'll have the get. This is not really what we want right now, but we want to have this one. So if I would now specify an invoice ID, probably we'll have a number 2. We'll be able to see the invoice items. You see, these items are with this invoice. And they all have, let me zoom it slightly, so they all have invoice ID 2, because that was what I specified. You see, so this is something that we'll be dealing with. And our API is good to go. There is a reference to the tracks, the music tracks in this database, but I will leave this for what it is, because that's going to be a bit more work if you want to have the complete track name or whatever. Well, we could actually track that a bit, but it's more about getting this data. So this works. Now we need to set up, that method basically. If I go to the invoice API store, that also holds, it holds the invoice, but it also holds that invoice line. I put it in here. And this one also needs to implement that invoice line store. It has to use this namespace. Yeah, so now we have to implement this. And in this case, I will implement that interface. But now, this is slightly different as what we've done on the other store. Now we have to call that API that we just tested. So the easiest way to do that is probably by checking our base class. Let's see, that is the API store. And here we have one of those to get by key. I can use this one and copy that over to here. Oh, this can go. And the things that we need to change is this is going to be the invoice line model is going to be returned. The controller is gonna be something extra here because I put in this extra method where, how did I call that again? Where's Swagger? It is by invoice. You see here. By invoice needs to be in the URL, and then this is going to be the invoice ID. This can go, and this is going to be awaited. So now this client also has the possibility to call this additional web API methods to get those by ID. And before this all works, we will need to pull the same trick as what I did with the other register services. So if I would go up to here, to the data, yeah, this one we need to put it in there as well, otherwise stuff can't be resolved. The only thing here is, yeah, this is cool. All right. Let me think what now the last thing what we need to do. Yeah, please. Where was that? Well, that was. Let me have a quick check as well, because Blee, C#, Rust rules. Yeah. Well, whatever rocks your boat. I mean, I'm more happy with C#, but that's everybody's opinion. Exactly. Whatever makes you happy. All right. So in this case, we have this. Yeah. Nice. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, we need a control which will show our invoice items. So for that, yeah, I should put it in a different folder, but for now, otherwise I have to include with some extra namespaces and stuff. I'll put a new Blazor control in my application. And I will call that invoice lines control. And well, stop with this. Yeah, that is the hot reload. I just want to edit the code. Let me see. Let me put the hot reload. Let me put that option out. I think that, yeah, I think that will work. All right, so the invoice items grid. Well, yeah, we cannot use our browse and edit control for that because that is depending, yeah, on that iData store, but we'll fetch that in a different time, so or on a different moment. So that wouldn't work too much. So let me put a DX grid in here. And I will need to do some stuff with that, so I will reference it to a property. It's going to be the items grid. And now I want to bind its data to a property or a parameter that we need to implement. Invoice lines. Let's put that here, and yeah, let me put those items in as well. I need a couple of things here. So I'm going to need that reference to the grid, which I just put in here. I made a public property for that as well, so I could reference it from some other place. And I have created a parameter, which is the model, the invoice that we're dealing with right now. But I want to be updated, or whenever this changes, I want it to bind to it, like two-way binding. And if you yeah, that's a very cool feature with Blazor. So whenever something changes on the invoice model, which is somewhere else, it should be updating this control as well. And we can do that quite easily by specifying another parameter, decorated property, and this one is called public event callback. And this is nice. I'm gonna specify the invoice model. So that is typically the same as the type of the property because these two belong, they are connected somehow, and that's because of the name, which is invoice changed. And because I have this public invoice model, which is named invoice, and I implemented this event callback with that same type, and then also the name is the same name plus changed, I can now go I can now bind something to it, and you'll see in a minute how that works. Another thing that I need is the item store that needs to be injected as well. And for that, I can do a simple parameter again. I'll use the invoice line store. And now I can put this in my invoice eraser file. So here I can put the invoice lines control. Because I did that event callback thing, I can now say bind invoice. And this is a two-way binding construction. And yeah, now I can bind this to the item. And what else did I have? Oh, that item store needs to be put in as well, I think. And that was the line store. Yeah, so this item here is the one currently being edited. And whenever it's being edited, we'll get those items from the line store, and that will be used in the grid on that other control. We'll need some additional markup, so let me quickly put that in because we are already busy for some time now. And I do want to obviously show you how this works. So typically I edit the columns here, quantity, the track ID, and I mean we could actually get it from the track table, etc., etc. Unit price and total. And the total is not in the entity framework model, but oh, this is the total of the, oh, wait a sec, what is this? The invoice line total. The invoice line total, oh yeah, I put this in our DTO model and it will calculate the total price. And then I'm going to put in a couple of other options on the grid as well to make this all work very nice. Do it here. Hey, why are we busy? Okay. Yes. So I put in a bunch of options here. So I'll go over that quite quickly. I would test the columns as well, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so I've put the editing mode into edit row. Keyboard navigation is enabled. The editor render mode, well, I've done a couple of options. You can check this out in our demos as well. But more important, I have a customized edit model event the edit model saving, and the data item deleting. And yeah, let's code those events in as well. So what I'll first do is, if we're going to edit one of those models, if it is a new one, we need to set the invoice ID of the current invoice item. Otherwise, it will not be connected in the database. So I do this by the following construct. And then once we start saving one of those items, I don't want to be saving those items immediately back. But what I want to do, so I don't want to call an API endpoint with every item that I save. No, I want to maintain a collection in that invoice model that we're currently editing. And once I hit OK on that invoice, then it's going to be sending out that invoice update as well with a whole collection of the invoice items. That's the whole idea. And because we're dealing with client-side application, so it runs in WebAssembly, so we don't need to contact that web API with every move that we do, basically. So what I do here is, because we have that reference to that invoice that we are editing, I will just add that collection. I will just add that item, if it's new, to that collection. And if it is an item that we were editing, I'll look it up in the collection and I'll change it. So this is all being done in memory without any callback to the server whatsoever. That's, I think, a nice thing that you can do here. And then the last, and then the last thing, it brings a tiny bit of complexity with saving, but as you will see in a minute, it's not too difficult as well, because one of the other things, if we remove one of the items, it is removed locally, and once we hit OK, it will batch everything back to the server. So I think we could actually see if this works. Let's check it out. Did I put the grid? Yeah, the grid was in there. Yeah. Invoices. Here are our invoices. I'll make it a bit smaller again. Yeah. If I hit edit, hey, something didn't go. You see, it's the grid is here, but the items are not here. Yeah, so what happened? Let me check another one. Maybe it didn't have any, but I don't think so. I think something is not totally okay. Yeah, it could be, but I don't think so. I think something didn't work. Because this one also doesn't have any. And whenever I now hit, if I do cancel and I hit edit again, it won't go anywhere anymore. You see, I clicked it, but it doesn't. So we forgot something here. Let's have a quick check if something showed up here, and in fact it did. Let's open it up again. And when I hit edit, what does it do? I saw a red thing. Oh, here. Yeah, this is not good. It is not by invoice /5. it should look okay. No data found. So yeah, this by invoice. Let me double check. Yeah, I probably made a. Yeah, please play some piano for me. I probably made a typo somewhere in the client application. Maybe let's see in the invoice API store. Controller base by invoice. That was this one. And how did I call that on the here? Yeah. Add and delete does not work. Let me see who says that. Yeah, I didn't update it yet. That's correct, but that was the next step. But I mean, it's not loading the items right now. So that's the first issue that we need to sort out, and then we can actually do the save and delete. But if I go back to my developer tools, let's have a quick check because I thought it was okay. Invoice lines by invoice number 5. If I go to Swagger, invoice lines, five. Oh, check this. This is the problem. Yeah, I was not expecting. I mean, it is now actually doing this. This is the URL that it is fetching, but I was expecting it to do the other URL. So there is something. I was expecting this one, and this one is not found. So that's the reason why it doesn't load. So what I need to do is I need to check back to my registration here. And here we need to change something, but let's have a look on what we need to change here. It's the same problem, well, a similar problem as we had. I think, yeah, of course, it needs to have the same name. That is it. I think this should be it. Of course. I love hanging on. Yeah, no, I think that's. I think it will not be. I won't be hanging that long. So let's do a reload and get rid of this one. All right, so here we are. You see? Obviously, this is the track ID. Yeah, cool, huh? And we can even go and start editing them if we would like to. But now we'll get the message back to, that was just on YouTube, because we haven't done anything for the saving yet. So how long are we running already? Can we still do it or? Are we gonna cliffhang till next time? It's up to you. Santa Claus. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. Probably. Um, yeah. So at least we now are able to fetch those detailed items into the grid, and that is only going to be done right before we open this form. This is probably This is. Okay, so then we have to do it, I guess. It's actually not too much work, to be honest. So, shall we? Or are you in a hurry? Oh, he needs to go out. Well, we'll see if he can keep it dry. All right, so we need to save this stuff. Let's see how fast we can implement this. So we have the edit action here. That will make sure that the lines are loaded, and this is all happening on the client. Very cool. Now let's have a quick check at the saving. We already did the saving inside the grid, so that will just be added or updated in this item collection. But now remember that I added a couple of events at the beginning to our browse and edit control, and that's what we need because in the on saving I created this event, the init edit item action. I also need the on saving event, this one. Was it this one or the? I remember I created one, the on saved. I think I can remove this one actually. And let's do that to make it a bit more logical. On saving. On saving. Oh, saved. All right, so once that model has been saved, we need to store those items as well. And for this, the most easy way is, let's first put in that method. And this brings her back to one of the methods that I already created in the interface, but which we didn't implement, and that's probably where everybody's waiting for. What we want to do now is we want to await the line store, and instead of doing like an update, delete, that kind of stuff, I'm going to do a store. And the store method will check if the ID is default, so the ID of this item is 0, it will be added. If the ID is an existing value, then it will be updated. So in this case, I will do the store, and that will get the item ID. So it needs the invoice ID, and it will get the item.invoice items, invoice lines to array. So this will partially take care of it, because now we need to go to the store. Where was that one again? Here we need to do something. And we also need to do something in the other one, the server side. So let's go here, invoice store. Okay, the first thing that I'll do here is, because we have specified an invoice ID, I'll make sure again that all the items are set to this invoice ID. The next thing that I'll do is I will select all IDs from the items. So I'll have an array with items. Amanda, are you still there? Oh yeah, because it's so extremely silent. I was wondering. So the first thing that I'll do here is I'll create an array with all the IDs of the items that are in that collection. The next thing that I'll do is I will create a collection with IDs that should be deleted, because we could also have items that are deleted on the client, and that needs to be removed as well. So how can I do that? Well, I will just get a list with all items with the specific invoice ID, and then the IDs that were in this list do not contain, that collection does not contain that invoice line ID. And then, oh, this should be async. I was wondering about this curly, or this wobbly line, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll select all the items from which the IDs are not in that items list, but which invoice ID is the same. I'll get that list, and then I can do something as simple as this. I'm going to delete, I'm going to call the delete async and delete everything that was in that collection. I will also do an update, but the update again is something to consider here. All the items in this list which have an invoice line ID which is greater than 0, those are items that needs to be updated, right? So, and when these invoice IDs are 0, then they need to be created. So the next line will be this. So all items in this collection which have an invoice line ID of 0, which is the default value for in this case, they needs to be added to the collection. And with this, I will have this batch update on the server. And yeah, we now need to do this on the client as well. And this is typically how this works. So let's have a quick, because we need to implement that here as well. So yeah, typically, now that I think of it, if I switch over to my Swagger instance here, what we have, it needs to be changed, but I'm not sure if I should do it now actually. If I go to this and I want to insert an item, we're going to be posting one. But what you see is that it expects only one item here, while our method can contain an array. So we should actually change the signature of these API calls to have a whole batch of items. And then we can do the same approach. But in this particular case, yeah, what we probably need to do is, which is not the nicest thing, do the same stuff, but then with a number of, with 3 API calls. Yeah. So typically we can do the same here. But because we can only do this one by one on the client, yeah, the signatures of the messages, and this doesn't work, you see. Yeah, so typically yeah, it is complaining a lot. Yeah. Yeah, typically, so the safest way is to create a method on the API that can do it. So for this, let me see. This is not correct for the client API. So what we would do is probably go to the program here, the server side thing, and we should have another one here. Only now we should do a map put, I guess. And now it's going to be interesting. So we need to do something like this. We need to have the from body. Invoice items, which is an array. I'm actually not entirely sure if this works in one go, but we can see that quite quickly. So this needs to be posted from the body because it's like a collection with items that we are trying to get in here. And the invoice item model as invoice line. Like this, and this needs to come from services. Oh, what's happening here? And now we could do store dot store. Oh, and I need that invoice ID as well. This will probably do it. Let's see if this shows correctly up in Swagger, and then oh, not all paths correct. Return something. Where was that? Oh yeah, of course. Well, I'm not doing no guts, no glory. I'm now gonna put this in. Get, this is gonna be put from JSON async. Where is that? Oh yeah. What was it again? Put as JSON async. I'm going to be putting in a list of models. Let's make that an array to not cause too many issues. Here, controller base, invoice ID, and this is not returning anything, I think. Async. How's the dog doing, Amanda? Oh, cool. Okay, so what does it say here? I'm always too lazy to check the date. Where was it? How do I really have to do it? And what am I putting? It's gonna be the items. Huh. What do you think, Amanda? Would it work? It must be, right? Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep. Let's first see if Swagger has. Oh, yeah, of course. We've had that before. Yeah, there was a duplicate name thing. Yeah, put invoice items. Oh, that name, that was the same as this one. And apparently he doesn't like that. Well, that would be cool if it was this simple. So let's see, if I go to the invoice lines, there is a second put here. And what does that expect? Oh, the moment of throw. It is expecting an array with stuff. Yeah, this looks quite cool. So if I would now go back to the home page, this is the moment of truth, Amanda. It's gonna come. Oh, the dog is awake. Yeah, that has to work in one go. All right, so here it is. Let's, yeah, I'm gonna rush it up. I'm gonna make this 2. Save. Yeah, I guess it did it. Let's see another one. This was not. No, it didn't work. It's still 1. Or was it the second one? I can't remember. Huh. Well, this is pretty much the idea. I'll make sure that whenever I think we're gonna wrap it up because the dog is more or less, yeah. I mean, the only thing that I could do is, I mean, let's put in a small little breakpoint to see if it is getting all the correct information here. Here we are back at the invoices. Hurry up. Maybe I'm missing a parameter or something. So here it is. The invoices are going to go to this first one. I will change this to 2. Save. Save. So it is not even calling my method for some reason, you see? And I have no idea right now why that is. By invoice. Let's have a quick check what was going on here, because it could be the same one. Yeah. Let's see if we change this a bit. Invoice lines by invoice. And then I need to change this as well. In the API store. Invoice lines by invoice. Yeah. One last check here. No, the client. Where was that one? Here. Store. Okay, I'm going to set a bunch of breakpoints to see where it is failing, but I expect it to be the URL, which is probably not routed correctly, but we'll find out soon enough. So here are our invoices. I'll go here. Oh, this is number 2. Aha. Here are the invoice lines. This looks good. And the first one, I changed the quantity to 2. You see, so it looks that it will probably work. Yeah. Disable hot reload then. Okay, so I guess we got it. Yeah, you see? It's 2. Yeah, works. So this is how you do it. I'm done. Yeah. No, so but this, yeah, so this is all being handled, the whole store mechanism. Let's really recap this quite quickly. So the whole idea is to do a store call, which will actually do the whole update, delete, and create of those child items in one request. It's most efficient, and it doesn't cost too much resources on the server. And yeah, so now you have seen how we can add like an additional method for some of those data services, and also how you can accomplish that store mechanism. Yeah, so that is typically what we've done here. Yeah. I will definitely check that out. Let me see who said that. Oh, yeah. I guess it's Mr. Samuel. Yeah. This was tested with the latest commit on the repo. Okay, I will definitely check that out and make sure that the next one that I'll put in that it works. Um, yeah, I'll have a check on the updates and it creates, etc.
Well, I think that's it for this one.
I
Thanks,
think
Don,
so.
for staying later and giving the people what they asked for. Um,
No problem.
and is the holiday called something? Like, can I say like happy something? What is today called?
No, not really. No, no, it's not really like, it's also not an official holiday, and it happens like a couple of weeks before, and then the kids are allowed to put their shoe next to the chimney or whatever, and they'll get some stuff in there, just like the stockings, But they do that like every weekend
Oh,
for
okay.
4 weekends or something. But now tonight was like the official Santa Claus birthday, and tomorrow it's all gone.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not like a happy holiday or whatever.
Okay. Happy
It's typically
chocolate,
for kids.
happy giant chocolate letter day. Where is
I'll
it?
bring you one. Once I get back in the office, I'll get you one.
Oh, thanks, Don. I'm going to
No
try to
problem.
raid Visual Studio
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
when we're exiting today. Let's see if I can do it
Yeah,
correctly. Surly Dev
it,
says today is called Tuesday. Thanks, Surly.
that's absolutely true. We'll be back. When are we back?
Next Tuesday, you and I.
Yeah. Okay.
We have
And
other streams coming up this week. Check our schedule. Tomorrow, Gregory is back doing, I believe, the DevExtreme data grid for React. And
cool.
I'll be back with Arig on Thursday. He likes to, give me his topic the day before, so I'm not quite sure what Arig's covering yet. But again, check the schedule. And also, if you're not following us, do so. Turn on your notifications so you know when we go live. And that's it. Okay, I'm just going to
I
hit
think
this
so.
raid thing. I think this is how it works. We'll see. Hold on.
All right, here we go.
Oh, this is invalid name. Oh, that's why.
No, we're still on.
We're still here. That's what I
Surely
heard.
Dev says /rate Visual Studio. Oh, you're in control of the chat box, right? So I can do it.
I mean, in control. Oh. Says this channel has
Maybe
a
you have to do it
follower.
in a Twitch.
I have to follow them, which I thought I did. I am following them. Come on. Maybe they don't allow raids.
Yeah, we're gone. We're at Visual Studio now.
Oh, we're in?
Yep, you just did it.
Oh, I love when things work.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Robert Green is on there. All right. Well,
I guess
adios.
that's it for today, right?
I think that's it for today. I'm not even sure if we're still live
Awesome.
because Jeff isn't